Harav YCD, welcome back to Yerushalmi Yoma. We are Perek Shlishi Halacha Aleph. Now, we're coming back to the main avodah of Yom Kippur. Good di Amalayan Hamamuneh. So the Kohenim, the Sagam, the deputy of the Kohen Gadol, tells them to the Kohenim the Azara, go to a high place in the Mikdash. Is it time for the Shechita of the Talmud of the morning? If the time has come, Haraya, the one who goes up to a high place to see, Ayme says Barakai, like the light shines through, right? Matya ben Shmuel, he says, Hey, Penei Kala Mizrach, the whole eastern side is light. And the people ask him, Acha b'Chevron, does the shining light, does it reach the city of Hebron? And he says, yes, indeed. Hebron, of course, is a reference to Avraham Avinu and the Avos. It's like the schus of the Avos. So they're asking him, go and see, is it light? And he says, yes, it's light. So the deputy says to them, see, is it the time yet? And he says, Barakoi. What does it mean? Ma Barakoi, Barekes. It can mean sort of lightning. It's like sparks of light coming through, like lightning. When you see these sparks, he calls that Barakoi. Taman Omrin, in Bava they said, the one who sees it says Barak Burka. And it means Anhaba Nahara, like the light, the one that provides light for the world, like the sun is shining, or the sun is becoming, the light's coming through. Now they will shech the tamid based on the person who's calling it out. Now he's high up and he's checking it out. The question is, how do we know he's telling the truth? Well, hey, the typical Yerushalmi question this. How can we trust him? One aid is believed to say that it's time for slaughtering the tamid. How can that be? So now, Shani Yachad, the question is different here. Look, we can check him out. If it's true, we're going to see the light ourselves a bit later on, even the people on the ground. So he's believed to say something which we're going to check out ourselves anyway. So therefore, even though he's taking something from the Chazaka, he's not lying. So it's going to, whatever he says is going to come out in the wash. We're going to check it out. But maybe you should worry. But at the time when he said it, it wasn't yet the time. And the sheker, we're not going to find it out. And until we go, the guy comes back and tells us, by then it's already light. And the people won't know that at the time when he called out Barakoi, it wasn't yet time. So he did lie, and maybe this is a lie we will never find out if he was lying or not. We won't be able to work it out. So the Gemara says, Hakima Himelsa, look, they knew how long it takes for him to come down and the amount of light you're going to get in that time. Right? Well, they can tell whether he was lying or not. So again, it's something which is going to come out. If a witness says, no, that ish, the child was born, Pliny Shabbos, was born on Shabbos, Molonai, so then they will do a bris milah for the child on the following Shabbos, I'll put based on him. If one witness comes along and says, Chashecha, Motzi Shabbos, is ready, Motzi Shabbos when the child was born, and therefore we know, and that makes up, now remember in the old days, a viable child had to be 9 months, right, but not 8 months, right? 8 months was not considered a time for a viable pregnancy. So the question is now, if a witness tells us the child was born in the 9th month and not the 8th month, therefore we assume it's a viable child. So therefore, Metatulai said we can move the child up here based on this person. So the witness is believed to say the child is not a nefel, and therefore he's not muksa, we're allowed to move him on Shabbos. He would carry a child based on the women who are going with the mother. They give evidence he was born in the 9th month, is not a nefel. He would carry the child based on the light of the sun. It was noticeable when the night, it was already nighttime when the time of birth, and they knew the child was born in the 9th month, and again, it's a viable child. Rabbi Ami Mal Al Pum Nishaya, he would do a bris for a child on Shabbos based on the edus of the women. The Amran who said Shimsha Habas Al Sisisa. Yeah, the sun was already shining on the place of Sisisa on the day of Shabbos when the child was born. So after the person says yes, it's all light everywhere, they'll ask him, now did it reach Hebron? Now what Lama Ad Shuhu Hebron? Who's bringing Hebron into it? And he says yes. We're remembering the merits of the fathers of Abraham and Yaakov who are buried in Hebron. Right? According to the Bavli, they would not. It doesn't ask why they asked him at Hebron. According to the Bavli, he says here, they didn't ask if the light reached Hebron, because according to the Bavli, they would ask him when it reached the light of Hebron, it was clear it was already dawn. I mean, are we talking about the light in Hebron every day, or just the light on Yom Kippur? Okay, let's carry on. What have we got here? Halacha base, yeah. But lama hutzur cholakach. Now, why do you have to go up somewhere high to see if it's dawn or not? I mean, you can see if you're on the ground. It says Pamachazala. Now, there was a time when the moon rose a bit before dawn, and v'dimu sheheye hamizrach. They thought it was the light of the sun. But shachdu as atamid, they slaughtered the commentator, and it's still nighttime. And then they realized they made a mistake. Let's see you lebeis hasreifa. They had to take it to be burnt. So we don't want it to happen again. So you send someone high to check that he's in the dawn. Yeah? Because once the moon came just before. Okay. They talk about it here. Yeah. Okay. We take the Kohen Gadol to the area where there was a mikveh there to do the first tevilah before the beginning of the Avodah. This was the rule of Mikdash. Kol Haloshon. Anyone who needs to go to the bathroom for the bigger version, Ta'od Tevila, they would have to go to the mikveh. Anyone who urinates, Ta'od Kiddush Yadayim V'Raglayim, he would need to wash his hands and feet from the kiyah before he goes back to doing the avodah. Yeah? Okay. Now, he said the person will go to a high place.
What's the Lashon Mesach? What's Mesach?
Mesich is the Lashon of Schach. He's covering his legs. It's like a euphemism, because the area he's like sitting on his knees, and his body is uncovering. No, the body is covering his legs, as it were. Now, there's a big difference between the light of the sun and the light of the moon, because he says, how could they make a mistake? The light of the moon is like going upwards. But the light of the sun spreads on all sides up in Ekam Mizrach. So how can they make a mistake? And another question, it's all very well to have a Sefer Diyacha when it's like the end of the month, where the moon goes up in the east of the sky, a bit before dawn, and you might make a mistake. But Abba Reishe, but at the beginning of the month, the moon doesn't go up in the east before dawn, right? It appears at the beginning of the night in the west. Then there's no chance they're going to make a mistake. So why Yom Kippur, which is beginning of the month, why do they have to go up to see if the Alot HaShachar, if it's gone or not? So a very good question. I'm afraid we don't have any answers. The Bavli answers the first question. The mistake they made, Olavana, happened on a cloudy day. And the light of the moon spread different sides because of the clouds. And it appeared to them as if it was the light of the sun. So now, at the time of bringing the Talmud of the morning, it was after dawn. So that's what we're saying here. It wasn't at sunrise, it was after dawn. Now, when is the time of dawn compared to Ayelet HaShachar? Ayelet HaShachar is another type of stage in the process, which comes earlier. And we're going to talk about sunrise as well. So, Amram Chanina, Ayelet HaShachar, from memory, I don't think we have Ayelet HaShachar in the Bavli at all. Right? Ayelet HaShachar, we had it in Brachas, and it's like the verse, two lights, two stars that appear on the eastern side. Ayelet HaShachar, which is a light which can be seen before dawn, whether it's the morning star. It's brought into Tehillim, the types of light that's seen in the east before dawn. They're like the horns of a ram. Okay, that's why it's called Ayelet HaShachar. Ayelet HaShachar ad Sheyeh Mizrach, until dawn, Adam Halach 4 mil. You can walk 4 mil. Sheyeh Mizrach ad Shalosh Chama, and then from dawn till sunrise, Adam Halach 4 mil. You walk another 4 mil. And where do we see that from the dawn till sunrise is 4 mil? Shenema, is this in this week's Seder Rabbi side with lights? Shenema, it says, as the morning was rising, the time for dawn, the angels hurried light to get out of Sodom. Take your wife, take your daughters, whatever, and get out. So he went as with dawn, and then it says the sun was rising on the land, and light comes to Tzayar. So he reached Tzayar at the time of sunrise. where the sun was already high on the ground, and it could be a period everywhere. And you see that from dawn till sunrise, he went from Sodom to Tzar. And the distance between the two is 4 mil. So therefore we learned that Alat HaShachar, so Nes HaChama, the distance the person travels is 4 mil. Of course, in Bavli you have the whole Gemara Pesachim over there, where it's 4 mil, 5 mil, whatever it is. So that's what we're saying now. From dawn till Nes is 4 mil. Now, is that the case? Min Sodom LeZayah Abba Milin. Is it 4 mil? Surely it's much different. Yatzihaven is a much bigger distance. Arazira. Now the Bavli learns that he hurried them along. They had Kfitza Saderech. The Yerushalmi doesn't say that. That's your Machlekes Babi Yerushalmi for the Seder of the week. The Yerushalmi says he made a hole through the mountains, and he cut the mountains in a way they could walk through the mountains, and that way the journey was shorter. And the distance between Tzar and Sodom in the straight way, if you go by cutting through mountains, it's 4 mil. But if you go the normal way, it will be longer.
Well, that's still a form of Kfitza Saderech.
Yeah, but it's not that he cut the mountains. The other one is they went much quicker, but here we're saying they went a different way. They went through the mountains. Now, how do you know from Yet Shachar till dawn? It's learned from the Drasha. It says Kamai HaShachar, just like one is like the other. So the time before dawn is like the time after dawn before sunrise. This very early light, the one who says it's sort of a star, is making a mistake. Sometimes it comes a bit earlier, it comes a bit later. Whereas Ayelet HaShachar has got a fixed time. So what is it then? What is it? Two little lights that come from the east and provide light at a fixed time before dawn. And that's what's called Ayelet HaShachar. It looks like horns of a ram, whatever it is. Ayelet HaShachar, Kane Ha'ayala, like a female ram, a ewe really, isn't it? A ewe doesn't have horns. It's Kane Ha'ayal, which is a type of ewe sort of thing. Okay, let's carry on. Now, Dalma, we have a story. Rav Chia Ruba, Rav Shimon ben Chalafta, have a mahalchin. They were going on the way, Ba'adav Bikas Arvel, in the bika called Arvel, Bikritzta, early in the morning before sunrise. Ra'u Ayelet HaShachar Shabaka Ayra. They see the beginning of this light, of this Ayelet HaShachar. Rav Chia Ruba, he said, Rav Shimon ben Chalafta, Berebi, great man, Kachi Gelasn Shalishon. So is the redemption. But Chila Kima, first a bit by bit. Because as it goes and gets stronger and stronger. So the Geula in the beginning be a small redemption, will get bigger and bigger until the redemption is complete. My time, but what's the source of this? I stay in the dark, and Hashem is the light for me. So it's like the darkness. You see us going from Golos to Geula is like coming from darkness to light. Just like the morning comes bit by bit, so also the redemption of the Jewish people. And this was the goal of the Jewish people in the time of Mordechai and Esther. In the beginning it says Mordechai Yeshev B'Sha'ar Melech. Mordechai sat in the king's gate, and he heard about Big Son B'Seresh, and then he gave this to the king. It was written in the book of Chronicles, and that was the beginning of the redemption. And after that, it says Vayikach Haman es halabush ves hasus. He took the clothes of the king, the horse, and he gave, what did he do? He put them on Mordechai, and he took him in the street, and he called before him. This is so should be done, the king wants to honor. Now after that, it says, Vayasham Mordechai el Sha'ar Melech. Now, we're bringing this verse here. What does it mean? Mordechai went back to the gate of the king. So in Bavli, it learns that he went back to his fasting. So that's the opposite of what we're trying to prove. We're trying to say things are getting greater and greater, but then this pasuk, according to Bavli, means he went back to his fasting. Now, the Yerushalmi might not hold that. The Yerushalmi says he went back to the gate of the king. Gate of the king, you have to be honorable at the gate of the king. You can't just be anyone at the gate of the king. So the Yerushalmi might argue on the Bavli, on that drosha, by the way. And that says, no, he went back to the gate. This is, again, more honor. This is honor here. And then they hang Haman. They send letters around. And then Mordechai goes out in front of the king wearing these clothes. You see the redemption comes bit by bit. Tani related to the price. A Kohen who goes to speak, he leaves the Azara to speak with his friend. If he was there for a while, Ton Tvila, he needs to go to the mikveh when he comes back. If it was a short time, then he doesn't need tone. He doesn't need tone kiddush. Yeah, tone kiddush. He just has to wash his hands and feet. Now going for the bathroom. This is only a short time. Mesich. So it's only a short time, and yet the Mishnah says he has to go to the mikveh. Not like the Brisa, which says a short time, just wash your hands and feet. He says, Shani Masich, going to the bathroom is different. We treat it as a long period of time. Tiny led to the Brisa, Yashin, if a Kohen sleeps in the Azara, he needs to go to the mikveh. And it's not if he dozed, just wash his hands and feet. Now, a Yashin Tadvila, do I need to tell it to you? Like in Tani Rechir, didn't he learn Yeshiva Azara and Macha Beis David Bavad? Only Beis David could see it, no one else could see it. Even Beis David couldn't really sit in the Azara. So you couldn't really sit there, therefore you couldn't sleep there. So I don't need to tell you that he needs to go to the mikveh. So Tifto, talking about a case, Shesamach Atzma Lekoisel in the Azara. He's like leaning against the wall in the Azara of Yerushalmi, and he's like standing, and therefore there's no Isur, and then when he wakes up, he still needs to go in the mikveh. He says David sat. You're telling me Beis David didn't sit. No, it means he concentrated in tefillah, not that he actually sat. Okay, halacha gimel. You with me? Yeah. You can't anyway. You can't come in the avodah to do the avodah. Even if you're tired, you have to go in the mikveh first. 5 tevilas, 10 washing hands and feet. Total done on this day of Yom Kippur. But Kol Kodesh, and all of them were done in the holy place of the Azara, in the mikveh, which was Al Beis HaPava, on the roof of the Beis HaPava room. Right? The Beis HaPava room, we will see in the Gemara. The Bishkas Beis HaPava, where they salted the skins. It was in the Azara on the south side. It had the Kedusha of the Kedushas Azara. The roof also had the same Kedusha. Okay. Usually the roofs were not holy, but this one was holy. Now, who built, what was his name? Where did Beis HaPava come from? Now, there's a lot of discussion on this. Parva, I mean, if you look in Rashi and the Gemara, Parva was a magician. But how does that make sense? Why are we interested in magicians? Some say he did teshuvah. Some say he was killed there after he did teshuvah. We wouldn't call a room after somebody was a rasha. Some say he dug underneath the ground of the Azara to see the avodah of the Kohen Gadol, and they noticed the digging under this room, and they found him, and they called the name Parva to remember what had happened. Okay, Chutz Mizur Bilvad. So all the other ones were holy, except for the first Tevila, the first dipping that he does, which was not in the Azara. Kirim Asnisa, this is the correct case. Usually he didn't go to the Azara or to do Avodah. I feel a tar, I should have to go to the mikveh. Now, not only that you go in the Azara Avodah, this way to read it. Not only if you're going in to do the Avodah, you need to go to the mikveh. And I feel Avodah. If you're not actually going to do the Avodah, you still have to go in the mikveh. Right? We seem to have in our Mishnah, you're going to the Azara to the Avodah. But not for the Avodah, it sounds you don't need. According to this case, then no. Either if you're going in for no reason, you still have to go in the mikveh. What's the need for this tefillah for Adam Tahar before he goes in the Azara? He's Tahar. Look, you're going from one state of holiness to another. You're going between the Azara, where you wear the gold clothes, to the Heichal, where you're going to wear the white clothes. Tadvili, you need the mikveh. So every Kohen, Mechal HaKodesh, you're going from outside the mikveh to the Azara, like Koshkein, that you should go in the mikveh. The Gemara says, no. This Kamachayim is not so straightforward. You could say, B'Kodesh LaKodesh, Lo Yetan Tefillah. Maybe from that you don't need. Only if you're going B'Chol LaKodesh, maybe only from Chol, from non-holy to holy, you need to Yetan Tefillah. If we find Tefillah going Kodesh LaKodesh, yeah, definitely you should have going from Chol to Kodesh. But how do you know? Kodesh LaKodesh is not more lenient than Chol to Kodesh. Why is it only if you go Chol LaKodesh you should need Tefillah? Yeah, maybe not. Rav Shammai V'Keni. This is the way you should look at the Kal V'chomer. Ma'im Kodesh L'Kodesh. Look, Kodesh L'Kodesh. If a person's tamei, there ain't no chores. There's no chores there. And yet, right, if you pick up a sheretz in the Kodesh Kedoshim or something, right, there's no chores there, but you have to get out, right? Nevertheless, Kohen Gadol goes from Kodesh to Kodesh Yom Kippur, Tan Tvila. You need Tvila, Mechal LaKodesh, coming from outside to the holy area. So, Shehu, Anush Kores, where there is Kores, if you come from Chol and you're Tamei, there's Kores. Like Hashgain, Sheyeh Tan Tvila. So much more so, going from Chol to Kodesh, you should go in the mikveh. The Gemara says, but maybe there are times even from holy to holy there's kares there. If you're tamei in the Beis Hamikdash, there's kares if you stay there. So going from kodesh to kodesh is not more lenient than going from chol to kodesh. Don't let a kav v'chomer to chav tefillah from to nichla from chol to kodesh. The Gemara says no. The kares for someone in the Beis Hamikdash becoming tamei there, kaida tanina taman is like which we learned if you stay there. Yeah, hishtachava, you bow down there. Whether you stayed the time it would take you to bow down, you're liable. Yeah? If you're tamei in the Mikdash, you're not chayiv kares unless you stay a period of time. And even if you come into the Azaras of the Heichel, you're not chayiv unless you stayed there. Right? But tamei who goes in Mechalal HaMikdash is chayiv kares even if he doesn't stay there. So going chol to kodesh is worse than kodesh to kodesh. So we should learn a Kal V'chomer. If you're going from kodesh to kodesh, you need tefillah. How much more so if you're going from chol to kodesh that you should need mikveh. Ad kama hi shir ishtachva. How long does it take to bow down? That's the time there will be kares. Rav Simshon ben Levi. Ad kedei. The time of reading the following pasuk. V'yichra apayim asad aritzpa v'ishtachavu. They prostrated and they bowed down. Rubavo, Moisif, he added to the shir, the time will take V'hodas Lashem Kitayv. Ramana Moisif adds until the pasuk to the end, Kila Alam Chasta. So, what is Haida Lashem Kitayv? Okay, so that's a different length of time. Now, according to Ben Zoma, the mikveh is someone going to the Azara has learned from the Kal V'chomer from the tefillah of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. Now, Tani, we've learned in the Brayso, Amrav Yehuda, Kol Asma La'eskinu Tefillah Zu, Ele B'nei Tefillah Tzrach. So he's saying, this whole tefillah, for a tahar person going in the Azara, why should a tahar person going in the Azara, why does he need to go in the mikveh? He said, it's not really for the tefillah itself. It's not really for itself. So what is it then? It's basically because of something else. We're trying to prevent some other problem. Because look, you might go in the mikveh before you go in the Azara, and at that point you will remember, maybe Kari Yashin Sheshbiyod, maybe he was with his wife the other night, and he's got some emission on him still, but he's not completely tahor from it. And therefore he will now stop from going in the Azara on that day. Because he was telling me he can't go in the Azara even after Twitter, he has to wait for nightfall. Do you understand? So he's saying going in the mikveh here is just to prevent any other trouble of him suddenly realizing actually he's got a carry and he's not allowed to go in. That's why this whole tefillah is here. Now we're going to bring Rabbi Yehuda about tefillah's balei keri to Kanas Ezra. Taman Tarina, in Brachas we've learned, the Azav who has a keri, now he's anyway really severe tumah. But then he has this keri, this emission. A nida who Shechvas Zera has come out of her. Shameshes Rosanida, she's anyway a person has a relationship who's now Rosanida, Sricha Tvila, they need to go in the mikveh to be b'tahar from the keri before they learn Torah, even though the Tvila is not going to completely b'tahar them anyway. Right? This was Takanas Ezra, right? Rabbi Yehuda Paita. Rabbi Yehuda says no, they don't have to go in the mikveh. They can learn Divrei Torah even without going in the mikveh. Right? The Tanna Kama held that in these situations, the Tamei can't be completely tahar anyway, because of some other tumah. But he should still do whatever he can from the keri before being Isaac and Divrei Torah. And Rabbi Yehuda said no. Now, what's the reason Rabbi Yehuda who says they don't have to go to the mikveh? Now, is it Chalak Rabbi Yehuda al Tefillah Sirach? Is it because he argues on the idea, look, a tefillah not for itself, just because of some other problem? Does he not agree with that? So he argues on the whole tefillah of Baal Keri, before you learn Torah, because this tefillah wasn't really made for Tumah itself. It was so that people shouldn't be with their wives like chickens, right? That was one of the reasons brought down. So it's because of other things. And that's why Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of because of other things. Or maybe he argues, Mishem, I feel Taiva Mamad, because he said, look, yeah, you go in the mikveh. Yes, you got rid of one problem, but there's still another problem here. So, Mamad, what does it help? There's anyway additional tumah here, so why bother? Now, so what was Rabbi Yehuda's rationale for saying not to bother with it? So, manavik minah. Now, the difference between the two sides of it is like this. In a situation of raw kerry, if he only had the kerry omission and no other tumah. Now, in Tema, if you're going to say, Cholok Rabbi Yehuda Tfilah Zerach, that, well, look, he didn't hold of her takana when it's going to mikveh when it's because of some other problem. Zvar Torah, do you think Minat Torah is not allowed? If he's got this kerry, he can't learn Torah? You think the Torah forbade him to learn Torah? No, definitely not. This dinner, Takanas Chachamim, Tzrach Tfilah, that they shouldn't be with their chickens like the chickens with their wives all the time. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of this takana, and therefore Baal Keri doesn't need to tefillah before he's involved in Divrei Torah. But in Tema, if you're going to tell me the reason why Rabbi Yehuda exempted the person, he says, look, you do this, you've still got other tumah here, I feel the tavel ma'ayel, then in this situation, ma'ayel who should tavel. There's only carry here, so it would help. It would help him to go in the mikveh. He's completely tired. So even according to Rabbi Yehuda, he wouldn't have to go in the mikveh before he learns Torah. So Gemara works out the answer from the words of Rabbi Yehuda about tefillah, someone who goes in the Azara, Kadada Tani, like that which we've learned. Rabbi Yehuda, Kol Asma Le'eskila Tefillah Zu. The whole purpose why they allowed this tefillah eliminates tefillah strach. They only were masakin this for a tahar person coming in the Azara, not for itself. It's just because of something else. The tefillah, the masakin, it stops other chashoshes. A person will go and wash, and then he suddenly remembers, Keri Yashin should be Yada, oh yes, he had an omission, and then it will stop going in the Azara that day. This tells me that wasn't the reason why Rabbi Yehuda argues. He held a tefillah for the Azara is not just a takana because of something else. And the reason why he exempted Tamei people, Mishay, because even afilu taiva, even you go in the mikveh, mahu moil. How does it help? Because whatever happens, he has other tumah anyway. That was his reason behind it. So that's how we worked out the suffix of Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. Parsha Sadin Shel Butz Beinai Lebein Ha'am. So they put a sheet of linen between him and the people. This is halacha daled yet. Parshat for his modesty. Parshat he takes off his weekday clothes he's worn until now. Yad v'tava. He goes in the mikvah, ba'alav and his stopping, and he dries himself. Reveal like big day zab. They bring in the guard clothes and which he wears all the year round. But lavash he wears them. The kiddush yad raglav washes his hands with. They bring the tamid. Ukrotzai, he cuts the neck, the shir shchita, but he doesn't finish the job. Umish mirek acher shchita, someone else has to finish the shchita because he has to receive the blood. So he can't finish the shchita and receive the blood. So he does most of the shchita. The kebel as dam, and then he receives the blood, uzraka, and sprinkling it on the mizbeach. Right? The parachatos of the Kohen Gadol, where you bring the blood, the Kodesh Kodashim, if Shechita was kosher bazar, could anyone do the Shechita? Shechita is not really an avodah. Or do we say no, Shechita has to be dafka through the Kohen Gadol? But the Tamid, which is not part of the avodah of Yom Kippur, if anyone else did it, is kosher minat Torah. But midrabanan, even Yom Kippur, even the Shechita Satamid, we let the Kohen Gadol do it.
Wasn't the salting, the collecting?
What?
The salting, the spreading, and the collecting.
Shechita. Yeah, there's 4 avodas. Yeah, shchita, but it's not part. It's not central with the Izal can do it, but definitely it's better that the Kohen Gadol does it, because especially in Yom Kippur we want the Kohen Gadol to do everything. Right. So now, he comes into the heichal to bring the keteres of the morning, which we bring every day on the golden mizbeach, but a heitiv saneres, and to deal with the neres. Now, heitiv, of course, these means different things according to different rishonim. Some rishonim learn it means cleaning out. Others, the Rambam held that you would light the menorah in the morning as well, right? And then he comes out the heichal lahakriv to bring on the altar mizbeach and saroshes the limbs and the head of the korban toid, v'sachabitin, the flour offering, the mincha of the Kohen Gadol, which he brings every day. There's a yain, the wine of the nesachim, which comes with the tamid. Right, every day they bring a revius yayin with a carbon tamid. They put it at the top of the mizbeach, the various pipes over there in the southwest corner. They also bring minchas nesachim. Okay, the kohenim would take the limbs, the chavitin, the nesachim to the mizbeach, put them on the ramp, and the other kohenim would put them on the mizbeach and offer them up. Okay. Rebbe Lazar v'shem Rav Oshia. Now, we said the Kohen Gadol wouldn't finish the shechita, someone else would finish it. And now, why is that? Now, Rebbe Lazar v'shem Rav Oshia, he would shecht the food pipe and the wind pipe, or most of them. And then he had to do the shechita himself. Most of these wind pipe and food pipe are Rabbi Yosef Masnisan Rakain. And Mishnah tells us this. It says, they bring the tamid karatzai. Karatzai means he cuts it until it becomes like two, and that's like cutting rove of the simanim. Now he's koretz the tamid, and another kohen finishes the shechita. So we bring a machlokes. What is with koretz? Ksiv, it says with Nebuchadnezzar, it says keretz mitzafain ba. The destruction that is coming from the north. Rabbi Chanina Rabbi Yerushalmi Levi. Chad Amar once said it means nechaisa, which means shechita. So Yirmiyahu is saying the shechita is going to come on the Egyptians through Nebuchadnezzar coming from the north. But Chad Amar, the other one said is nesaicha. It means uprooting. So he's saying there'll be an uprooting of the Egyptians from their land through Nebuchadnezzar. Man Amar nechaisa. The one who says carries is shechita, he brings the proof min hadah. From our Mishnah, he cut it. So you see it's an expression of shechita. Manda Amar, the one that says nesaicha, it means magliana. It means you're uprooting it, moving it from their land. And he brings a raya from Pasuk Elihu, said to Eiv, Mechome karatzi gamani. So I've also been ruined, and I'm like you. So keretz can also be an expression of uprooting. Okay. HaKeteres, halacha hey. You carry on a bit more, yeah? Halacha hey. So the tamid, the keteres of the morning, was brought between the sprinkling blood of the tamid and offering up the limbs of the mizbeach. The keteres ben abayim, the one of the keteres in the afternoon, is sakreva ben ovarim, between the limbs of the tamid and the nesachim and the wine. If he was old or a bit fussy and he couldn't take the cold in the mikveh, we heat up hot water on Erev Yom Kippur, and on Yom Kippur, matin and we pour it into the cold water, kadesh shetafel k'sinazon, to take off the chill. Now, the keteres in the morning was between the sprinkling of the tamid and the imurim. And the Gemara says, what's the source for this? Ksiv, it says, the tamid of the morning, you should do it baboker. Or ksiv, the keteres, it says, you bring it keteres baboker. So they have the same reference, baboker. So which one do we do first? So Yigdom Dava, Sheneva Baboika, one of them has got a double expression. To do that first. The Dava Shalai Nema Baboika. One has two double expression. The keteres in the morning, so keteres Samim Baboika. So we put that first. May I say if that's the case, then we should do our Afilu Ladamai. Then put it even before the blood of the tamid, not like the Mishnah which says you bring the keteres after the blood of the tamid. Rabila, it says Kevzachot Tasa, Higdim by Masa. We do one action of the tamid first before anything else. So the avoid of the blood of the tamid has to come before the keteres. Now I bring a brisa about the order between the tamid and the wood on the mizbeach. See, it says baboika, one sheep you do in the morning, the tamid. Uksiv ba'etzim, with the wood, putting the two logs every morning. It says baboika. So you can do baboika. So do the two logs first. Now what are we talking about? What are we talking about here? If you're telling me you put the wood before putting the limbs on the mizbeach, but now how are they going to be burnt? They're burnt with the wood. Obviously we have to put the wood first, right? The limbs are on the fire, which is coming from the burning of the wood. So it's possible you have to put the wood first. And what are we talking about? Even for the avoid of the blood of the tamid, right? That the wood has to come before the sprinkling of the tamid. See if it says ba'etzim with the putting of the wood, baboika. Ksiva keteres baboika. So they both have the double expression. Which one should come first? Right? Me machshir me. Well, which one allows the other? Eitzim machshir as a keteres. You're going to put the keteres on the coals which are taken from the part of the wood on the mizbeach. So the wood has to come before the keteres. Come and see. So the wood comes before the blood. The blood comes before the ketores. So it's clear that's the order. And you want to say, because they are machshir the ketores, I mean, it's obvious. I don't need to learn it from this svara. Of course I need it. It's not because I didn't know this halacha, the wood comes before the ketores. The Brisa says it's in machshir, because the wood allows the ketores. I mean, that's clear. The wood has to be before the tamid, and the ketores is later. But there is a need for this brisa, that the wood is considered a machshir for the ketores for another reason. The Bnei Yeshiva wanted to say, Mi machshir the ketores. What is it that allows the ketores? Gechalim, the coals that you bring on for the ketores, but maybe the wood, maybe is not considered a hashra for ketores. Rav Lazar says, Male Asham. Remember the herb they were putting the ketores to make it go straight up. That's considered a machshir for the ketores. So they had a svara to say that putting the wood is not considered a preparation, a hashra for the ketores. So the Brisa therefore has to tell you that's not right. That putting the wood on the maracha is also considered a hashra for the ketores. Ne'emar b'tamid, it says for the tamid of the afternoon, you shall bring it ben arbaim. Ne'emar with the ketores in the afternoon, it says ben arbaim. So which one comes first? Savuch le'neiros, and it says that with the ketores next to the neiros, or the menorah. So the Torah compared and put together the ketores with the menorah. But ne'emar b'neiros, you find that, it says on a me'erev adboike, you have that expression, to the evening to the morning. So we learn the neiros is like the last thing done in the day. So yu'ucha double, we will delay the ketores. Shene'emar by ben arbaim, samachnos, that's quoted next to the menorah. The menorah is the last thing, the ketores is next to it, so we'll delay the ketores, as opposed to the tamid, which doesn't have that expression. Me'ata, if that's the case, then let's delay the ketores, even for the nesachin, the wine that comes with the tamid. Let's put the ketores next to the neiros, but Mishnah says you bring the ketores between the tamid and the nesachin. We do the wine after the ketores, before the neiros. Rav Hila said, the time of the afternoon, it says, Ta'aseh, Icha by Maseh, one action of it has to be a bit later, so we'll delay the wine of the tamid. Rabbi Bun Bachir Baikum Rav Hila, here you're saying, now with the tamid of the morning, you're saying Ta'aseh, which tells me put something earlier. Hikdim by Maseh. Here you're saying Ta'aseh means put something later. Icha by Maseh. That doesn't make sense. Rav Hila, Kam Medrash and Medrash bin Yana, every drush in its place. Toed Shoshacha B'Klam Ochahaya. We should delay the ketores. So Masa Malema Tasa, why is it Tasa? Higdim by Masa will delay. So we'll bring forward one action of the carbon before the ketores. And that's the word of the day. Whereas Tawid Ben Abayim, Bichlam Mugdim Haya. We've already learned with another drosh, you should bring the Tawid Ben Abayim before the ketores. So why does it say Tasa? Masa Malema Tasa. That one aspect of the carbon has to be after the ketores, and that is the wine of the tamid. And he was praising Rav Hila, and he called upon him, Banya Daraisa, the one who builds the Torah. Now, in order to remove the chill from the mikvah, what do? We heat up the water before Yom Kippur, and we put hot water in. Now, Tani related to the price, so he's saying they had clumps of iron, which they heated up before Yom Kippur, and they put them into the cold water. To remove the chill. Are you not putting out fire on Yom Kippur? The metal, which is fiery metal, has got a din like fire. You're putting it out. And a mitzvah Savar Rabbi Yehuda, did Rabbi Yehuda hold? And Avos Malachos Yom Kippurim, do Avos not apply? Of course that can't be. And Rabbi Yehuda, Rav Shimon Amar, they said like this, the same thing. Now Rav Shimon holds, Malacha, which is not Tzricha L'Gufa, is Mutar Min HaTorah, right? Well, there's no purpose from the end result. You don't need the main Malacha. Rabbi Yehuda holds, he says, putting out this, heating cold water by this metal is no Ism Min HaTorah. It's Ein Tzricha L'Gufa. Right? I don't need the putting out of the fire, of the metal fire. I've got no purpose for that. So therefore it's not chayv. Now, like in Saba Bema, didn't Rabbi Yechon say elsewhere, Rabbi Yosef Shimon Shneim Amar Davar Achad, they said, Mlach Chen Tzricha L'Gufa is Mutar Min HaTorah, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda holds this, Neymar, let's say Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, Shlosh Amru Davar. Let's say that all three they say this. Right? Rabbi Yochanan didn't mention Rabbi Yehuda as saying Lachshin Tzvil Gufa is Mutzvah. He must hold it's not like that. And a mitzvah sub Rabbi Yehuda, it could be that Rabbi Yehuda held Shein Toledes Ha'esh, that Ka'esh. You know what? Something formed, red hot, is not like fire itself. The hot iron is not considered like fire. And putting it in cold water, you're not over a malach of kiboy. Okay? Allocating, he says, you know what? Let's see the machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and our Mishnah. This is to explain the machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda Meima. Rabbi Yehuda wanted to say, She'ein Taltas Eish Ka'esh. Something, the derivative of fire is not like fire. So the iron is not fire. And you can put it in the mikveh. Rabbana Zavri, Meima, and the Chachamim wanted to say, Taltas Eish Ka'esh. It is like fire. And therefore, it's considered Eish. You can't put in the mikveh Yom Kippur the water you're putting out the fire. So therefore the Chachamim, they've said it's better to add in hot water. Now, even according to Yehuda, Yecham Lechamin. Yeah, heat hot water before Yom Kippur, put in the mikveh. Why is he preferring hot metal or whatever, and not water? The reason of the Tanur Yehuda, we don't want to heat up hot water. We don't want people to say, we saw the Kohen Gadol going in the Maim She'uvin in drawn water. It wasn't a mikveh. They'll think it was a mikveh of drawn water, and they'll think that is kosher. To be continued, Rabbi Isai. Now, of course, the Bavli, by the way, doesn't discuss putting out this iron, because according to the Bavli, there's no issur kibbeh begacheles. There's no issur of a metal thing putting it out, because it can't make a wick. Remember Pachamin making wicks? The Bavli holds there's no such thing. It doesn't make a charcoal to make a wick. Right? The Bavli asked in Rabbi Yehuda on the other side that putting the hot metal into the cold water, you're mitzaref, you're making the metal, you're strengthening the metal, you're finishing the touches of the metal. Therefore, it's makeh b'patish. Remember that? That's what the Bavli discusses over there. Okay, to be continued, Rabbi Isai.